Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We've got quite the haul this week, so it's going to be split up between a couple days. So let's get started. We're going to kick things off with Storm number 3, where we left off. Storm had been fighting an odd weather entity, and her powers seem to be less controllable. She also begins seeing a man named Travis. Seemed to be an inventor who, largely focused on more high-tech concepts, but also enjoyed low-tech tinkering. Mystique was discovered to be masquerading as one of Travis's business associates. And Logan doesn't trust Travis. So, the weather entity is shown in the beginning to be in agony, potentially the same amount of agony as Storm. Back at the mansion, Kitty is looking into the business associate that Mystique is masquerading as. But the X-Men are having some fun at the pool. Storm, meanwhile, has decided she's leaving the X-Men. With Xavier's trying to talk her out of this. Apparently, she's let the plants she has in her room die. She also talks about the drought that occurred in her Serengeti village in Kenya years ago. Apparently, this was a plot point that got brought up later. She basically diverted rain from other villages to hers. This would actually, this was brought up in an issue of X-Men in the 90s. Afterwards, Storm learned to draw water from the oceans to redistribute moisture on a global scale. She also briefly mentions her initial meeting with T'Challa and how she could have gone to Wakanda with them. But Xavier does at least suggest, talk her into mending fences with Kitty. And it turns out that Kitty's tattoo is a fake tattoo. It's explained that when Storm cut off all of her hair and cut her hair into a mohawk and started dressing like a biker, Kitty felt just out of the loop because her best friend had made this sudden change just without saying anything. But Travis shows up, saying that the entity is back, spotted in a forest a few miles from the school. So the X-Men, under Wolverine's temporary leadership, go to check it out. With Rogue asking what the plan is, and Logan simply says that Xavier's the long game chess player, opening gambits for Storm's style. His style is get angry, howl like commandos, and attack high, low, and sideways. But Kitty gets a close look at the creature after phasing through to disrupt it briefly, noting there's pain in its eyes. But the rest of the X-Men push the attack. Eventually knocking it out. When the enemy sees Travis, it pushes him away. Kitty approaches the defeated creature, asking who it is. He answers this blowback. Rogue touches blowback. Apparently, blowback seems to be Storm, who is currently at Travis's workshop. And Travis asks her to basically fly away with him. He's managed to close the sale on Neotech, and so he's rich. Or as he puts it, we're rich. And that is where the issue ends. It's interesting. There had to be some kind of link between the creature, Blowback, and Storm. Apparently, it is Storm, so that's going to be odd, to say the least. Moving on to our next book, we've got Deadpool number 9. Moving on to the present day of Marvel's Merry Mutants. Where we left off, the Ateliers' most recent horde of assassins had defeated both Deadpool and Valentine. And Lord Deathstrike is there. They've also managed to capture Princess. But Lady Deathstrike is welcomed into the Atelier by her older brother. Deadpool wakes up at the Atelier's HQ, getting smacked around by the Horned Emperor, who explains that who basically just wants Deadpool to make Princess controllable. He refuses and is chucked into a cell with Valentine, whose arms have been shattered. Deadpool asks Valentine about her arms growing back, and she explains that they don't. Deathstrike and Deadpool have a bit of an argument, and she tosses in a one of Valentine's fingers. It should enable her to grow her arms back. Deathstrike goes to see Princess, explaining that she will get Princess out of there. Valentine, meanwhile, tells Deadpool about what she knows of the Horned Emperor. Basically, the Horned Emperor raised her. Always been there. There came a point when Valentine tried to kill the Horned Emperor, and apparently the Horned Emperor laughed and said they were proud of them. But they do come up with an escape plan. Apparently, the hero were left bits of various creatures inside Deadpool, and so Valentine manages to grow those creatures out. We've got some Brood, some Bamfs, a mindless one. One of those otherworld weird wolves, I believe, from Otherworld, and some creature that looks like a combination of plants and teeth. Deadpool and Valentine fight the Horned Emperor. Valentine makes a suggestion on how to kill the Emperor, which Deadpool will take. Deadpool begins the process of, but Valentine finishes it off. As Deadpool and Valentine are kind of sort of celebrating, she becomes the Horned Emperor and explains that the Horned Emperor is not a person, it's a mantle. Whoever kills the Horned Emperor when the Horn Emperor is slain, whoever strikes the killing blow gains the horns and becomes their successor. And Valentine basically it seems like it's more than just a mantle. It looks like there is a possession. I don't know, maybe the new Horned Emperor appears to have their personality overwritten with I guess the Horned Emperor, and Valentine leans into it, and that is where the issue ends. Interesting. Not entirely when it comes to everything with Deadpool and Harrower. I'm not surprised that Harrower tried to grow more than just a symbiote. But yeah. Moving on though to our next book, we've got Wolverine number 35, continuing and possibly concluding Weapons of X. Where we left off, Beast had captured Wolverine's friend Jeff Bannister and was holding him hostage. Wolverine made a potential deal with Beast. He'd return the two mindless Wolverine clones that he and Maverick had managed to take in exchange for Bannister. So, yeah, the various beasts are as insufferable as one might imagine. Beast Prime making a dumb joke, and well, Bannister making a more amusing joke in response, and headbutting Beast Prime. But it seems that Logan is working with X-Force on bringing down Beast, which makes sense, as, yeah. There's also some minutes from a Quiet Council meeting, namely concerning Beast, his exile, continued transgressions, but this was raised to the Council. Some heated discussion, it was decided that action is not to be taken against him. Instead, Sage was nominated and promoted as X-Force's Director of Intelligence, and to prevent further conflict and enhance communication, Colossus volunteered to serve as an X-Force Quiet Council liaison. Apparently, Sage isn't entirely happy about this, namely, adding that X-Force has seen the future, they know what Beast is capable of. If the Quiet Council disagrees with her, they should set up a meeting. But she considers this stance to be a tacit endorsement of a war criminal. And if this results in her being fired from her post, well, so be it. But Beast meets with Wolverine and Maverick in on the Faroe Islands. Maverick wondering, why wouldn't Beast just blow us up and take his clones back? And well, Logan points out that Beast is a savage who thinks he's a gentleman. He might serve you your heart, but it'll be on silver and white linen. Also, Beast loves to talk. So, they got time. And yes, Beast does talk, while X-Force infiltrates, while the rest of X-Force infiltrates his kaiju. And wrecks his hatchery and most of his plans, but one thing is missing. They can't find the Cerebro sword. But Maverick wants Beast to sign an armistice. However, Bannister manages to point out that Beast Prime doesn't wear glasses. then it's not an armistice. It's the terms of peace surrender. Bannister's saved. X-Force makes their way through Kaiju base. But Beast Prime cuts Deadpool in half with the Cerebro sword and manages to stab Domino. Omega Red uses his new enhanced tendrils to link into Beast servers, giving Sage quite a bit of data to wade through. Of course, Beast has a contingency as his base blows up. Escape sub. Apparently, 3 of the Wolverines remain missing, and of course, Beast Prime is missing, as well as the Cerebro sword. Back on Krakoa, Wolverine tells Sage that he's proud of her, and he's still a member of X-Force. He's here for X-Force, but he's done with Krakoa. The issue ends. The arc, for the moment, ends with a quote with Wolverine saying, "I got a mess to clean up. There's other Wolverines out there. I never liked the crowd. I never even liked myself." That is where the issue ends. The next Wolverine book we're getting is actually going to be the Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Alpha. Getting to the upcoming Wolverine Ghost Rider crossover. But I liked the story, I really did. It's saddening that it's understandable completely. That Wolverine's faith in Krakoa is pretty much gone after what he's been put through just by Beast, and the fact that the Quiet Council was like, Beast is kind of doing good. What he's doing is bad, but is it really bad? Yes, it is. Oh, I've got some. I have plenty of other thoughts, but yeah. So yeah, it's understandable that Wolverine's kind of like, yeah, we're not hanging out on the island no more. Moving on, though, to our next book. It's the mutant event of the year, the Hellfire Gala. Also, the kickoff of Fall of X. So, it's simple. The quick version. Xavier goes to give a speech about his dream, because we all know Xavier loves to talk. Loves the sound of his voice. Telepath, but he will talk, and we all know this. And on his way to the podium to speak, he stumbles and falls. The Fall of X. And, of course, all of Mutankind's enemies see this and they're like, oh, well, and start plotting. No, that's not really what happens. It's a nice thought, but this is a gut punch of an issue. Oh boy, is it a gut punch. So it starts off on a high note. Kamala Khan is resurrected, as her status as a mutant has been discovered, or had been discovered, but it seems her inhuman side had suppressed her mutant gifts. Emma basically says she'll modify the memories of her family and friends so that, she's not dead. It's hoped that she might, at least as Miss Marvel, she would be open about being a mutant. She was apparently bumped to the front of the queue because of Cyclops, her old friend. though there's some additional commentary made about the fact that whereas Kamala knew Cyclops just a couple of years ago, to Cyclops it's more like a lifetime ago, as it was when young Cyclops, the young original five were in the present. Yeah, all that, craziness. But Cyclops states that time travel is always been a thing with the X-Men. After all, his son's an old man. And, well, Kamala initially actually realizes that maybe Scott's not joking about that. But she's also being invited to the Hellfire Gala, and, well, Jumbo has ideas. But, they also state, hey, that yes, we want you to come out as a mutant, but still, if you need to ease into things, it's understandable. A week after, weeks later, the gala. The 5 and 1 are the hosts. Will of course be the X-Men election, as every other year. Forge he's presenting a gift to mankind that will solve housing shortages and food insecurity that plague those most in need. This was discussed in a text page in X-Men recently, but basically utilizing the triage technology worldwide. As they're getting ready, as things are starting up, though, the alarm goes off at the treehouse, and the events of Free Comic Book Day Uncanny Avengers happen. Cyclops goes to the treehouse in response. Someone steals a Captain Krakoa outfit and sets the treehouse on fire and throws Cyclops out of it. Jean and Juggernaut talk, and apparently that Jean basically gives him something of an endorsement, gives Juggernaut something of an endorsement for the X-Men election. Destiny and Mystique seem to have had a brief falling out about something Destiny has seen. Pretty good idea of what she saw, but, well, I've read the issue. Xavier and Kamala talk about her place in the world of mutant kind. Apparently she wonders just what her mutant gifts are, and no one knows. She has to find that out herself, for herself. Rasputin 4 talks with Kamala as well, and kind of implies that Kamala's her hero. A man named Dimitri and a man named Wynn show up at the gala and are met by Magic, who claims she can smell magic on them, like magic with a C. But Wynn states that they're there in response to something that a mutant said a few years previously about how humanity has new gods now. Well, Wynn and Dimitri represent the old ones. They work for the old ones. The Avengers get an alert. Apparently, Sam Wilson doesn't like the idea of Kingpin being able to just roam Krakoa freely, but it's kind of put in perspective in a, hey, yeah, well, he's here. He can't leave. He's on an island full of superheroes. Ain't a damn thing he can do. But the Avengers get an alert and have to leave. As Captain Krakoa has attacked the U.S. Capitol, as seen in Uncanny Avengers Free Comic Book Day. Rogue then gets an Avengers alert about Captain America, Steve Rogers, having activated his distress beacon and being unresponsive. Rogue goes to answer. But the new X-Men team is announced. As Jean states that her and Cyclops are leaving the team, are stepping back from the team. So the lineup consists of Talon, Sync, Cannonball, Prodigy, Frenzy, Jubilee, Dazzler, and the Juggernaut. And as soon as the lineup is shown off, Nimrod crashes the party. Directly on top of most of the X-Men. Dazzler is seen. It seems that Dazzler is torn apart. Jubilee is fairly badly injured before having her head stomped on. Prodigy is likely killed, as is Frenzy. Juggernaut manages to survive, but Orchis attacks. And apparently Nimrod has a means of dealing with Omega level mutants, which he uses on Iceman when Iceman actually attacks him and does a pretty good job at it, causing him to melt. But Jean throws Juggernaut at Nimrod at enough speed to cause a sonic boom, which she manages to, add to the force that hits when Juggernaut hits Nimrod. And Sentinels attack the party. Karima and Dr. Stasis dance through one of the gates, as thanks to Horde culture, they've managed to hack the gates. MODOK comes in, whom Dr. Stasis refers to as Dr. MODOK, and when MODOK corrects him, Stasis does point out that Doctor sounds cooler. But Orchis forces pour out of the gates, attacking mutants left and right. Strong Guy does a good old-fashioned fastball special with Kate, phasing her through one of the Sentinels, causing it to crash. Wilson Fisk tries to save his wife, and is smacked aside by Omega Sentinel. Earns the lifetime ire of Wilson Fisk. And, well, to be fair, yeah, that ain't something you want. Look what he's done. Look what he's done to Daredevil over the years. But at first, the defense of the Gala seems to work. At first. But the Gala structure collapses. Jean manages to grab all of Orchis' operatives and basically states that gets into their heads. gets them mentally and states that they've trespassed against Krakoa and chosen violence. They can let all those thoughts go, and they will survive to see the dawn. But Moira sneaks up on Jean and stabs her with a blight swill knife. While Cyclops is lying on the ground in front of the burning treehouse, seemingly with a broken spine. The surviving mutants do what they can against Orchis' forces, but Moira puts her dagger to Charles's throat and basically, tells him, "Stop! You can stop them." And since Orchis has tainted the Krakoan drugs for the past year, they will show the world everyone who's taken the Krakoan drugs dying. Xavier surrenders. Stasis basically says, that we're declares mutant kind as a cancer, and they say that he's the surgeon, as it were. While discussing the terms and consequences, Jean manages to convince his Firestar to undertake an undercover mission, masquerading as a traitor to the X-Men, even modifying Stasis' mind and memory so that he remembers recruiting her. But Xavier tells all mutants of Earth to go step through the gates. On one of them, Mother Righteous gets through and shrinks the Krakoan Atlantic island. It's like an island in a bottle. The Bottle Island of Krakoa. Sounds familiar. And, however, as mutants across the globe step through the gates, the X-Men, most of the X-Men put forth one of their secret weapons, the Red Triangle protocols. Jean says goodbye to Scott as she dies, and to Logan. Asking him to avenge her. And he wades through some of Orchis' special forces. Exodus manages to save the 5. Mystique seemingly has a stroke and jumps to her death. But the rest of the X-Men are still present. One of the AIM troopers tries to kill Lourdes Chantal, but Fisk snaps his neck, and Lourdes teleports everyone away to the base of the Hellfire Club in Manhattan. However, Lourdes was shot and dies. Nimrod has defeated Juggernaut. Beat him rather bloody, no less. But the gates are inoperable due to something that was cooked up by Horde culture by Orcus. But the human guests are one of them states that people will be worried. There are reports that there were no survivors of the Hellfire Gala. Well, here I am surviving, and well, Dr. Stasis remedies that error, that clerical error. As Moira's about to execute Xavier, Rogue saves it. He realizes that he can't sense any mutants. The gates were supposed to take the Araco, but they're not there. Xavier realizes that he may have just doomed all the mutant kind. And he tells Rogue to avenge them. To avenge Krakoa. And to be fair, I don't think they're dead. I think that Krakoa, being sentient, was able to hear, oh, hey, something's up here, and realize, hey, let's put everyone coming through the gates with Doug. After all, wherever Doug is, it's out of reach of. It was out of reach of Hope and her power memory. We get summaries of the first few issues of Kamala the New Mutant, and the issue's not quite over. One of the gates opens, and Kate actually manages to pass through it. Find herself at the Krakoan embassy in Israel with a whole bunch of Orcus troops, some just like shield operatives, some just like AIM beekeepers pointing guns at her. And that is where the issue ends. Yeah, you know that whole welcome to the X-Men, hope you survive the experience? Well, clearly not everyone does. Some of them don't even make it a minute. But that sucks. That was a great lineup. Hopefully, once they're all resurrected, we'll actually get to see it. I guess the pity that Cannonball wasn't blasting, because, well, as everyone knows, Cannonball's nigh invulnerable when he's blasting. But yeah, that was. Oh, yeah, I got a lot of opinions. Not so much about the issue, more so about the story and how the trajectory of Krakoa. But that's for another time. Moving on, though, to our last book for the moment, we have The Invincible Iron Man, number 8. Yes, I know, this is a title video, so it's X-Men. Iron Man's not an X-Men. What's he doing here? But he is, fighting Sentinels now, so. As well as his new nemesis being a member of the Orcus Council. Where we left off, after Tony and Rhodey trashed Elon Musk, Fei Long's Sentinel plant, In Texas, Nimrod, Nimrod stays in Phalong, killed one of the workers at said plant, and put the body in the rubble to make it appear that someone had been killed in the attack, thusly making, when Rhodey was found, he was arrested for murder. Tony's trying to get Jen Walters, his lawyer, to get Rhodey out, but things are moving slowly. Also, it's pointed out that he does need to turn over literally all Iron Man armors to Phalong. However, she does say, that's Tony Stark's attorney talking. Stark's Hulk gives him the advice of smash, but it is stated that perhaps he should try, moving to, operating from a foreign country, maybe Krakoa. And people seeming to be happy about seeing Stark Sentinels flying through cities. Definitely it isn't a good feeling for Tony. As he's boxing up the Mark 70, Captain Krakoa's attack on the Capitol occurs, and he heads there. But then he gets the call about Steve. Finds him and Rogue just after Rogue saved him. And then the three of them head off to the Capitol. Later, Stark returns to New York and sees the Stark Sentinel smashing it, or taking an interest in one of the high-rises. The Sentinel states it's found a high-value mutant, Emma Frost. Tony gums up the jet repulsors and while talking with while him and Emma are arguing, Emma's already taken care of the damage to her nose from walking into a gate. The Sentinels come back. Emma has some choice words for Phalong and basically just, says, yeah, kill her and Stark. Emma saves Tony. Then gets punched by some Sentinels and retreats into it. And she manages to pull him out of it, though briefly does have to take control of him to keep them both alive. But she manages to get Tony out of his trauma, and Tony surrenders. But Tony's got one more trick up his sleeve. Activates the rescue protocol as him and Emma stare down two Sentinels. And the Mark 70 flies out away. And then Tony basically says to Phalong, go ahead, kill an Avenger in the street. You'd be dead by dawn. And that is where the issue ends. This is also the point. This issue does the argument between Emma and Tony early on also points out that as Emma learning that Stark has been forced out of Stark Industries, and so it's Phalong making the Stark Sentinels, not Stark. Anyways, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Especially after the Hellfire Gala, I think there's one thing I think everyone needs to remember when it comes to X-Men comics. Magneto was right. That said, big shout out to Patreon patrons Andrew Lee. Thank you so much for your support. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.